Folks, this clip here is so hilarious, I had to share it with you because the new chair of the RNC was talking and he was asked about are we better off now than we were 4 years ago? And he may have had one of the greatest slip of the tongues of all time. Take a look at this clip.
At the end of the day, this comes down to a very simple contrast between President Trump and President Biden. Were you better off 4 years ago than you are today? The answer for this entire country is no. I mean, yeah, we are better off today, or we will.
You know, I absolutely loved watching him trip and fall all over himself there. Were we better off 4 years ago? Well, no. Are we better off today? Yeah. You know, I'm sure somewhere deep down in his gut, he has to know that we are better off today than we were back in 2020. And that's a talking point that MAGA has a hard time buying into. And one of the biggest insults that MAGA throws at us on a daily basis is when they constantly point to their idea that the country was only doing good under Donald Trump. During the 4 years he was in is the only time it was ever any good at all. And it's just been a nation in decline ever since. We're a third world country. All MAGA does these days, all Donald Trump does is just run America down and insult it on a daily basis. That's all that they do. And the only way in their minds it's ever going to get better is if Donald Trump becomes president again. And I guarantee you, if he were to be reelected, before he ever takes the oath in January, before that ever happened, I promise you, the day that he would be elected, MAGA would jump to their feet and say, oh, the country is great again. Everything is good. And they would look at the economy. They would look at what was in place, all of which Joe Biden had put in place, and they would give Donald Trump the credit for all of that. They're already doing that. Donald Trump is already trying to say that everything that Joe Biden has accomplished has been Joe Biden running off of the fumes of his administration. So by that logic, if Donald Trump really believes that Joe Biden is running off the fumes of his presidency, then couldn't one make the argument that in 2017, when Trump had a good year and when 2018 was a good year, couldn't we argue that those was Trump running off the fumes of his predecessor? I mean, that's his logic. That's what he's saying, right? So if that's true, then couldn't we easily say that was the case, and it was the case, in 2017? Donald Trump did not follow through on the promises from his campaign trail. All Donald Trump did was give tax breaks to billionaires, and he got himself impeached twice. That's all he accomplished. The wall wasn't built. Mexico didn't pay for it. He never showed us his health care plan. He had the best plan ever. You was going to love it. Just trust me, you're going to love it. We never even saw it. We never laid eyes on it. Why? Because it was never there. The only thing he ever had in mind to do was tear down anything Barack Obama put in place. That was Donald Trump's mission. That was Donald Trump's agenda. Go in there and anything that a Democrat or a liberal, progressive, whatever you want to call them, anything they ever put in place, tear that down. And all Donald Trump did at the end of the day was stack the Supreme Court so far in the right wing's favor that now Roe versus Wade got overturned and women's rights got took back 100 years. That's what Donald Trump will be remembered for. We are so much better off today than we ever were under Donald Trump. And the things that we are trying to reverse and the things that we're trying to fix back are things that Donald Trump's administration broke. Now, I know what the arguments are going to be from MAGA. They're going to say, well, but look at gas prices, look at inflation, look at my grocery bill. Okay, well, the gas prices are coming back down. So if they were Joe Biden's fault for going up, then why are you blaming them? Like, why aren't you giving him credit for coming down? And inflation is coming down, but the prices are staying up. Why? Because your quarrel is not with Joe Biden here. Your quarrel is with corporate America. They're the ones that sets the prices. And they're telling you that they're doing this to make up for everything that they lost during the pandemic. But they're the ones you should have a beef with, not Joe Biden. Joe Biden has worked to get this country back on track, to pull us up and get us all moving forward. And we are so much better off today than we were back then. And while Donald Trump has been on the campaign trail, can someone tell me where his new ideas are? Can someone tell me where any of his new plans are or ways he's going to do things differently? I haven't heard any of that. All we've heard is him defending himself from everything that he's being held accountable for. He's mad because he's being held accountable. He's upset about that. And he's just talking about how he's being persecuted and how when he gets back in, he's going to get revenge and he's going to get retribution on everybody that he feels wronged him. Instead of being held accountable for his own actions and showing some responsibility and taking accountability for the wrong he's done, he's just going to get in and he's going to unleash revenge on the rest of us. All the guys talked about is being dictator on day one. All the guys talked about is doing away with the Constitution, terminating it when he sees fit. He's talked about negotiating a third term. Where's his ideas? Where are the new ideas that Donald Trump has that are going to make our lives better? And when has he ever, one time, tried to unify anybody? When has he ever tried to pull people together? He's not. And you know why? Because that's not what MAGA wants. They don't want to be unified with anybody. They don't like diversity. They don't like the idea of equality, and they hate the idea of democracy. And the reason they hate those things so bad is because, folks, at the end of the day, their ideas are ancient, and their ideas have no place in this world. Their ideas are becoming more and more irrelevant as time passes. Time is leaving them behind. I played a whole lot of gigs and dive bars. I saw a whole lot of people, a whole lot of drunk people be bounced out. Saw it every night. I can tell you they're always their loudest on their way right out the door. Everything that builds up to that moment when they get right to the door, it's quieter and it gains momentum. And right as they get to the door, right as that bouncer's fixing to toss them, that's when you hear them protest the loudest. That's when you hear them kick up the biggest fuss and make the biggest fight about it. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing an ancient ideology fade away. And we're trying to bounce it out. And we have to bounce it out come November. We have to play bouncer here. And we have to go over to these people who are punch drunk on the Donald Trump Kool-Aid, and we have to say to them, it's time to go, buddy. You've had one too many. And we got rules here. I mean, I can't count the times that I've heard the bouncer say, buddy, you've had one too many. Now, there is some rules in this place. Just have a good time, but you can't be doing this shit. And out you go on your head. That's what has to happen to MAGA. We have to step in and be the bouncers because they've took this thing way too far. And we, as people with the voice of reason, right now have to use it. So we can't sit back. We can't be quiet. Listen, I understand some of you are in a position to where you can't necessarily get on social media and just start blasting away. I understand some of you have jobs that are very important and you would lose your jobs for doing so. But that doesn't stop you from talking to people. That doesn't stop you from passing on things to people in private. That doesn't stop you from trying to point out all the things that are going on in this world and get people ready to vote. So everybody do your part. Everybody, let's all work together and let's please bounce MAGA out of this damn bar once and for all.